Fox 61 breaking news now.
In a breaking news update, Fox 61 has obtained the arrest warrant for the man accused of sexually assaulting a 4-year-old at a Bright Path Daycare in Avon. Thank you so much for joining us at 6. I'm Annette Montgomery.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. This happened back in March, and since then, John Barrios Otero has been fired, arrested, and since charged with 4th-degree sexual assault, and the details are disturbing.
Absolutely. Fox 61's Stefan Reels joins us now in studio. He's been going through that warrant, which gives us a new look at what happened. Stefan.
And Sarah, it's kind of like Sarah alluded to earlier. There was some very graphic stuff in this arrest warrant where police said surveillance video shined a new light on the case, and they say the assault took place over the course of more than 45 minutes during nap time at the daycare. The video showed Barrios Otero lay next to the boy and move his hand underneath the boy's blanket for several minutes. Eventually, another teacher walked in and Barrios Otero tried to hide what happened, but later he continued to touch the boy and put a phone underneath the child's blanket as well. Eventually, the child began to roughhouse after he appeared to be catatonic and not resistant for a little more than 20 minutes. The warrant says he grabbed the child's face, he being Barrios Otero, grabbed the child's face, kissed it, as well as the boy's hands and the upper body. This continued until other children began walking around the classroom. Police also spoke with a teacher who worked closely with Barrios Otero, and she said prior to this she had not noticed him being inappropriate, but she did tell police that apparently during Bright Path training they were told it was okay to rub a child's back to help them fall asleep. However, that had to be on top of the blanket as opposed to underneath the blanket. In response to what happened, a lawsuit had been filed, and just within the past few hours, we were in contact with 2 more attorneys who have been working with dozens of Bright Path parents, and they sent us this statement following the release of the arrest warrant, saying in part, quote, "It is our hope that Bright Path does not follow the all too familiar path of institutions that have attempted to minimize or conceal serious misconduct. Parents entrusted their children to Bright Path with the expectation of safety. That trust was broken. Families deserve a full, honest, and transparent accounting of how this was allowed to happen," end quote. We'll have a full statement on our website, fox61.com, but right now lawyers tell us they want to call on the daycare to release what they knew about the incident and any prior complaints. Also, coming up at 7, we'll hear from one of those lawyers involved in this case. Annette, Sarah?
All right, thank you, Stefan. We have some breaking news in Hartford where police say a man went into Aetna's headquarters with an AR-style pistol in his backpack. Happened today. They say 51-year-old Denray Waldington is charged with criminal trespass and illegal possession of an assault weapon. Officials say Aetna Security detained him within 3 minutes of him being in the building. Wadlington is currently in custody. Now to our top story. It's that time of year when street takeovers pop up in our state with the weather being nicer, especially in towns like Trumbull. Police say they're limited with what they can do to actually stop them from happening.
Fox 61's Celine Arif shares how police handled the illegal takeover with several bikers and ATV riders flooding the streets this past weekend.
It was about 7 police officers versus hundreds of bikers here in Trumbull. Despite being outnumbered, police tell me it thankfully ended with nobody hurt. It's the sound of a quiet Sunday evening turned chaotic.
Driving in general tends to be very dangerous at times, but something like that, taking the street over, that's not right.
That's Tony Ortiz's reaction to this video Trumbull police got from street cameras. The video even shocks Lieutenant Brian Falkenstein with Trumbull Police.
We've never seen such a large quantity of ATVs and dirt bikes and street bikes kind of going through town.
From another angle, you can see just how fast the vehicles were going, running lights, speeding, and crossing over lanes. Falkenstein says it's around this time of year when the weather gets nice out that groups plan takeovers like this one.
I think it's a variety of ages and, people that came from different parts of the state and maybe out of state at this point.
The crowd kept going straight on Route 127, making a turn onto Main Street near the town hall, then went back down into Bridgeport. The whole thing lasted about 15 minutes, but Falkenstein says state legislation limits what they can and can't do during a street takeover.
We're not allowed to pursue these vehicles. Again, we have to put it into perspective as far as the manpower that we have allocated to deal with an issue like this and what our best course of action. And sometimes it's kind of providing that safe passage.
He says officers cleared the roads to get everyone else out of the way, and thanks to that, they saw no injuries.
There was a couple of incidents where they banged on a hood or banged on a car, but again, it didn't cause any damage.
Every street takeover is different from the last.
Training is obviously very hard to kind of conquer or even kind of plan for these type of events.
And they don't always know when one's going to happen, like Sundays. But especially this time of year, they try to stay ready for people breaking the laws on the road.
There are entities out there that'll typically give us, some tips that this may be happening, and that's when we can kind of partner up, obviously, with other agencies in the area.
Nobody was arrested from Sunday's takeover, but that doesn't mean they won't be. Right now, Bridgeport and State Police are working with Trumbull to identify the drivers and hold them accountable, hopefully preventing another takeover. In Trumbull, Celine Air, Fox 61.
Switching gears to weather, we're going to feel it all in New England this week. It feels like summer today, but over the next 4 days, we're going to go on a gradual slide from summer right through spring and back down to winter. So let's bring in meteorologist Sam Samperi with a look at that forecast. Sam.
Oh, I'm trying to be positive about that winter term, and that would have to start with the S word. And I'm not going to talk about it right now. We'll talk about it later on. 84 Hartford, 82 Waterbury right now. Water temperature 54, 75 in New Haven, obviously with the cool onshore breezes, much warmer inland. And again, we got into mid to upper 80s in that southerly flow. And we have a wind gust up to 20, 25 miles per hour. We have a couple of pop-up showers, poppers I call them. Nothing severe here. You could get skinned with a light shower. It's out to the west. Strong to severe thunderstorms. It'll be heading in our direction, but should weaken, unlike last night. So we put this in motion here. And you can see like 10 and 11, you might have a couple of cells developing, but it really occurs after midnight with a band of showers. I'll be back in a few minutes. We'll talk about these a little bit more detail and that big cool down coming up through the weekend and into next week. Annette?
Thank you, Sam. Well, a state trooper is accused of having sex on the job at the state office building in Hartford. He has since been fired. State officials say now former trooper Owen Humphrey did this sometime in January. They say 2 other troopers and a private security employee were also involved. Officials say it was consensual. Once investigators learned about it, they reassigned Humphrey from the building. Police say he tried to go back into get his personal items. Humphrey was then placed on administrative leave.
Well, this morning, the driver of the tractor trailer died in a fiery crash in Vernon. It happened on the shoulder of I-84 East near exit 67. Officials confirmed 2 tractor trailers were involved in the crash. They say one was parked on the side of the highway when another one hit it and burst into flames. At this time, police have not identified the driver of either tractor trailer. For most of that morning, there was heavy traffic in the area.
In Griswold, state police say they found a man asleep at the wheel, and when they woke him up, he drove his car right into the front of a home. This happened last night. Police say he was intoxicated, although they haven't released the full report just yet. We'll let you know once we learn more. What started as a small-town experiment has expanded to more of a statewide trend. More speed cameras are coming to cities and towns across the state, and just about a year after the first one was installed. The latest round will be placed in Winchester after they recently got approved for 2 cameras.
Fox 61's Jamel Johnson shares more about how they'll affect driving through some of Connecticut's small towns.
It all started in Washington, Connecticut as a way to curb speeding and to help a small police department regulate a road that saw its fair share of accidents. Now, these speed cameras have spanned across the state, recording record profits for communities and proving to help keep streets safer. Now, they're making their way to Winchester, Connecticut. Winchester is now the 13th town or city to get approved for speed cameras in the state. Even after proven success in other communities, town manager Paul Harrington says the process of getting cameras on their roads was underway for a while.
We actually had cameras up for a period of time in town, and what we discovered is that almost 75% of our traffic was speeding. So with that information right then and there, we knew we had a problem. That process did take us about a year.
The Connecticut Department of Transportation approved 2 speed cameras, both situated on Route 44. One will be posted on Main Street and the other will sit further down on Norfolk Road.
Just getting out or coming into town seems to be an area that people like to maybe put their foot down a little bit heavier than they should because they're getting out of town.
India Altman goes to school at Northwestern Community College, taking Main Street every day.
Yeah, it's a little hard to get out of the library parking lot because people speed. And then they speed around the green as well.
Main Street itself is a 30 miles per hour zone, but in their test, cameras recorded people going much higher than that. These new cameras will have posted signage telling drivers a camera is coming up.
Maybe people, the numbers were a little bit skewed because they didn't know they were actually, going to be recorded on their speed. But I still think once the cameras are up, 2 things are going to happen. Either citations are going to be issued or behavior is going to be corrected.
Harrington believes the cameras will help a small town like Winchester enforce speeding laws without dedicating more officers to regulate speeding.
There's no replacement for a sworn officer, obviously, but one of the advantages of a speed camera is it works 365 days a year, 7 days a week, and when an officer pulls over a car, 20, 30 cars have probably driven by. This is getting everybody to get that corrected behavior.
Harrington says he's expecting the cameras to be placed within the next 90 days, and the money collected from the cameras will go either back towards speed regulation or town infrastructure. In Winchester, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61.